single injection unlocks your DNA and will release another version of yourself.
I'm Sue.
Welcome to BK Reviews. What's up, y'all? So today we're gonna be talking about this movie that I thought I saw like something about it. This movie interested me at least, and this is the movie's called The Substance, and it interested me because it was really like representative of people sort of like dealing with their inner demons, whatever that may be. In my opinion, the story that was being told was about someone's beauty, but I looked at it as any inner demon that someone could possess, and how they wanting to feed their ego, wanting to feed their demon versus wanting to do what's actually best for them.
So how I came upon this movie, now, I'm a big fan of horror, so I'm like, I'm subbed to a lot of movie channels, especially ones that talk about horror films, and so I heard like all of them were going off about this movie, The Substance. So Demi Moore, The Substance. I was like, what is The Substance? So I watched a couple of videos, and they like basically gave like a brief synopsis, which I'll do here, where it's a actress who's up in age, still beautiful, gorgeous woman, by any standard. It's Demi Moore, she's fucking gorgeous, right? And she eventually, she's on her way out, right? Like how Hollywood treats women over like 40 and stuff like that. And she ends up getting presented with this thing called The Substance, which is supposed to make a new, better her. And so they break down, like, talking about the director and what they were trying to do. Like I said before, talking about how Hollywood treats women. They were talking about a little bit of the lightly touching on symbolism. But they was like, one guy I watched, he said, "Do not eat if you're watching this movie." He's like, "I tried to eat," and he said, "and I regretted it." So, and when I heard that, I'm like, "Oh, this movie's fucked up, huh?" And they labeled it as body horror, excuse me. So I was like, okay, I definitely got to check this out. So when it eventually came out, I went and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this, and I was just gonna watch it myself, just in my house. And then that's when me and you, we, like I said, we've been planning out like some of the movies we want to check out and things of that nature. And I think I picked the last one, so I was like, so what do you want to watch? And you just hit me up and was like, The Substance. I was like, say less.
It was really good. And so with that being said, we'll get into the recap of The Substance and let you know what we thought about it. The way the movie starts, it starts off with like this very like ominous sort of, there's not a lot of dialogue in this movie, which is good, but it gives off that very ominous sort of feeling or whatever. It starts off with like this egg that gets injected with something, and then it splits off into another egg, because that's ultimately what the substance does. So Demi Moore is she does this sort of aerobics class,
exercise channel, exercise TV show, excuse me.
Right, she has an aerobics class she does it in the morning, but she's getting, as you said, she's getting up in age, and they're looking to replace her. And she overhears one of the producer talking about it in the bathroom, and she's already feeling away, or at least that's the way it seems. She's feeling away about her image and how she looks. And throughout the movie also, they kind of touch on her Walk of Fame star and how it just sort of like gets trampled on, like not cared for.
Yeah, like it showed it like basically at first everybody's, oh look, it's just, I love her, she's my favorite, and then get to the point where like, oh hey, you remember her? And then nobody caring. It's like got cracks in it.
Over it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people dropping food on it, things like that. Like she's not even being remembered. Like nobody cares about her.
After that, they end up going to some sort, what was it, like lunch or something like that?
Basically her firing meeting. So, and this is one of those times where, like I said, it's gross. Like this dude is eating, they're like showing him biting the food and just sloppily like dipping things in a sauce, throwing it on the plate, and she's like can't even focus.
They got that weird angle, that very like,
it's like a fisheye lens, yes.
Gross and very, and again, it's symbolic of like how gross just the industry treats women, how the industry commodifies women,
just how it is in general. It was just disgusting,
and they really exaggerated that with the way he was, how he was eating, and how just disgusting he was. And so he ends up, basically they end up having this conversation where she's getting fired.
Yeah, she was driving home and she saw the billboard, this big beautiful billboard, her Demi Moore's gorgeous face on it, and then she takes her eyes off the road and gets fucking T-boned by a truck. And that crash was insane. Like, it was nuts. I was not expecting it.
On her birthday.
Yeah, on her birthday. Show her in the hospital. She's just looking like a hit puppy. And the doctor is like kind of fawning over her because he's like, oh, hey, oh, it's your birthday. And but he's like, we scan every part of you're great. Don't worry, no injuries. And he goes, oh shit, it's your birthday. And she just starts like weeping. and he just, that part was hilarious because he fuck up out of there. And then it's like really intense young nurse is like with this birthmark on, I think his right wrist. And he starts kind of examining her back and stuff. And he's like, oh, you'd be a perfect candidate for it. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I made a joke while we were watching. I'm like, the way he was just touching on her and stuff, I'm like, should I call the police?
Yeah, I would have felt assaulted. Like he's caressing her spine. He's like, measuring her, like going down her spine and stuff like that. And it's like, bro, what are you doing?
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Gave her a thumb drive that says the substance on it, a note that said it changed my life. Right after that, she bumps into, I think his name was Fred, a high school, I guess a guy that had like a crush on her and stuff. And he asks her out. She takes his number, and you could tell like this guy, like he said, I think he was saying like, man, you're the most beautiful woman in school. And you still the same. He was fawning over her, and you could tell he made her feel good. Like she was like, oh, because she wasn't feeling the best there, but he was. She felt a little bit better about that. And
although she had a pretty bad accident, she came back, like she was unscathed. Had this instance that wasn't that bad, but she could not see beyond, it's my birthday and I just got fired. You know what I mean?
And I'm older, because I'm older and looking up, I mean, this woman lives in this beautiful apartment. Obviously she has tons of awards. She obviously has money to spare. Instead of just looking like, okay, fuck it. I'm gonna do something for myself. Is treating it like, oh, my life is over.
Right, and that validation was more important than anything else.
Can we talk about this video?
Sure.
Oh my god! I'm not gonna discuss let's not discuss what everything happens in the video, but it's the weirdest, creepiest video.
Check that
out. Exactly. As soon as I stuck it in, it's like, younger, beautiful. Why don't you take the substance? All this other stuff. You are one, and all. And we were like, yeah, I would throw this away, and it was funny.
I would have threw it out.
It's exactly what she did, was toss it, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, she tossed it. She seemed uninterested at first. It just seemed to understand, like it seemed kind of crazy. At first, she goes out after that. She goes to get drinks, and then for whatever reason, she sees like a couple kind of, flirting and things like that. But she decides to look into this thing called the substance, ultimately. So she calls. They give her an address, and they just hang up on her. Why would you, in your right mind, think, you know what, I'm gonna do this? But it also speaks to how desperate she is, like how bad she thinks her situation is. And it's also like coming from like a very privileged place as well. Like this woman has money, she's had a good career, she looks good, in spite of what she, obviously the industry is gonna want one thing, but in terms of her age, she has a faculty, she looks good, she got money, she has a career. What do you feeling?
I think it's that, but I also think at the same time it's also showing you how like beauty standards, not just in Hollywood but in general, so I do like the symbolism of this movie for sure when it comes to that. But at the same time, like you said, Demi Moore, I think, is closer. She is in her 60s or closer to her 60s. I know in this character, Elizabeth is actually 50, and Demi still looks great.
She ends up going to the address, getting the substance, bringing it home, and she opens it up, and there's this whole like kit. It's an activator, which is like this neon green substance, which I don't know why anyone would inject such a thing into their body, but
Oh my God. What is that?
And it's not that it had like detailed instructions, but she like just scantily reads through them and is like, let me get this in my veins. Like, what?
I've got veins that carry blood all over my body.
she ends up injecting the neon green thing into her veins, and it takes a second to like activate, but she ends up like falling on the floor, and you start to see things double. So you see her eye double, 2 eyeballs, and then you see her back,
Oh my God.
split open.
Just pop open and a whole new person just comes out of her back. It's like, once again, it's grotesque. It's grotesque.
Yeah.
Scene didn't really bother me that much. It showed, a POV, and it's muffled sounds. She's looking at her hand. She gets up and looks in the mirror. Well, she sees her old body on the floor. Looks in the mirror, sees her younger self, and starts kind of fawning over it. It's just like, it's almost like a consciousness transfer from one body to the other. She is, even though she's in this younger body, that's still her. It's just like she's swapping her consciousness from her older self to her younger self, in which she has to do every week. She has to switch on and off in between the young body and the old body, because the young body needs the spinal fluid from the old body to live.
So the way that it works is you inject the activator, and then what ends up happening is that there's like a meal thing for the body that's not in use at the time. So 7 days you have to switch. Now, new body requires there's this thing called stabilizer, and the stabilizer is basically spinal fluid. As soon as she injects it, she starts to her nose starts to bleed and stuff like that. Well, after she's looking at herself in the mirror and stuff like that.
When she needs an injection, her nose bleeds, because she has to do it every day for 7 days. She has to inject once a day.
Now, the problem with this, what could possibly go wrong, right? What could possibly...
Yeah, nothing will go wrong with this. When you see her in her younger body, it's like saturated as hell and like glows. Like there's a lot of bloom. I think that's what the term is called. And everything is glowing, super saturated. They're constantly zooming into her ass. And 2 things you see the most: her ass and her mouth.
Nice.
Because now a sex symbol again.
So the job that they were looking for, that the producer was talking about while he was in the bathroom, that she overheard, she goes for that job and gets it, and they fall in love with her.
She's over the moon. Of course, she's getting her job, and she has her new body, her younger self, so on the billboard. She's happy, but
When she switched back to Elizabeth was in the house. Elizabeth did not want to do anything. When she walked outside, she was covered up as if something wrong with her. There's nothing wrong with Elizabeth. She's just older. But in her mind, she's horrendous. It's obviously Elizabeth was just left laying around because Sue, and we come to find out, she resents Elizabeth. She doesn't like Elizabeth, right? Elizabeth didn't have a lot of time leaving Sue there. We'll find that out in a little bit. But, there was a different reason for that sort of carelessness towards her body. But yeah, they would just leave the body there.
Elizabeth resents the younger self, but also knows deep down like she needs it because she wants to feel wanted and needed. And Sue's turn, and Sue is the genius who thinks, well, maybe I should find somewhere to put this body. It shouldn't just be out in the open if I'm gonna be living my life. And so all of a sudden, this woman who's been an actress, it seems most of her life, all of a sudden becomes a fucking carpenter and just walks around the house knocking on the walls and shit, and finding where it's empty, and just starts to just build this crazy room. So we were just laughing about it because it's just like, what? But then I was like, well, a whole human came out of somebody's back. Could it be so far-fetched that maybe this girl has some carpentry skills? You know what I'm saying?
This time around, they switch off on time. The second time around, though, Sue decides to go out for a couple of hours. I'm just gonna take a little extra spinal fluid. And
they made sure to show that the last day, I guess the nutrient bag for Elizabeth is running out, and that's when she decides that she's gonna go partying.
Which, why would you choose the last day to do that? Like, you had 7 days. Like, why would you choose the last day to go hang out?
Right when that nutrient bag is ending, so that's when obviously it was time to switch. No more spinal fluid. Well, she's not supposed to. And she just catches a nosebleed on top of this dude, which I don't know what, I guess he was just drunk or high or something. Cause that would have been like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to go. At the end of the day, she's between a rock and a hard place, actually, because if she just went and swapped all of a sudden, this dude would have been like, what the hell is going on? You know, she taps Elizabeth for a little bit more spinal fluid, so she could have her little one night stand. She go back and the crazy thing was that when she sat down on, sat on his lap, he was like, what did you do? You look even more beautiful than you originally did. And then they knock boots or whatever. And so she eventually swaps, and then Elizabeth wakes up and sees that she got this whole like gnarled witch finger and oh my God, freaks the hell out. Brother, she tries to wash it off.
Yeah, she got some rotten ass finger.
I wouldn't even say rotten. That shit was decrepit. That
goes a guy and she's like, hey, my finger's messed up. How do we reverse this? And he's like, there's no reversing it. You're both one person. There's no she. There's no you. You're both the same. We get to see that, like, if you abuse it, it's going to affect. But Sue, but I would consider like the alter ego.
None of them know the side effects, right? Then this is when you start seeing like the fractures show where
there's not one conscience.
As we go through it, she's still going and getting her her deliveries. and I love how she has her gloves on. And she has her like her little coat, which is yellow, like the egg yolk that you saw in the very beginning, which both of them wear from time to time. I want to get her thing, and all of a sudden she starts hearing these voices, and in this like panic, which I don't blame her, because like I said, she's in some shady alley. I would have been like, what the? I'd have got the hell out of there too. She freaked out and she runs, and she comes to this diner.
Yeah.
And this creepy old man is like looking at her, and he's like, it's long, isn't it? She's like, what the fuck you talking about? Old weird man, what? And the reveal is, it's the damn nurse that gave her this stuff.
Young nurse with the intense eyes. This is him. He's the one that gave it to her. It also, in my opinion, represents how like people, like misery loves company. People will encourage behavior in other people because they don't want to be alone in it. You ask, has she started taking more from you? So I'm paraphrasing, but has she started taking too much? Yeah. And this is when she just decides to get up out of there.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Like, it's the creepiest conversation I've ever seen a person have in a crossword. And I'd be like, look, man, I don't know you. Shut up. Alone. It could also be an analogy for like addiction or drugs. Like, right? Like, he got her hooked on this stuff, and now her life is spiraling. She
runs into the guy that she was just with the other night when she was Sue, and he don't recognize her. Obviously, she's Elizabeth now. He's rude as hell. He basically almost runs her over with his motorcycle, and I guess that further plays into her own insecurities.
Yeah, like this young dude I just literally slept with the night, but doesn't even recognize me. All she did was bump into him by mistake. And then this is like the saddest part for me. She's like, you know what? I'm gonna call this man who's just telling me how beautiful I was. Calls him, sets up a date, puts this beautiful dress. And I think she looked more like her old, like Demi of yesteryear with her hair up like she.
Yeah, old Hollywood.
She looked gorgeous. And
she gets dressed, she gets, ready, she looks good, she covers her rotten finger up. She ended up glancing at Sue. She's leaving. She sees the big old billboard of Sue outside of the window because, coincidentally, there's a huge billboard right outside the window. And it's in that moment, I guess, that she just second guesses whether or not it's worth going out. And then she just takes off her makeup, reapplies it. She goes, a little bit more pronounced with the makeup. And you can tell she's having this like manic phase, this manic moment of not feeling pretty enough.
The thing is that it keeps referencing the billboard. She's like, that's I don't look like
Right.
that. I want to look like that if I'm gonna leave and go out in front of people. I can't go out looking like I
Can't
look.
feel pretty no more.
It's so sad, and it's really like nutso moment where she just goes in the mirror and just like starts wiping all her makeup off, fucking her hair up, and just smacking it, like self-harming herself technically. Like the loathing in her face for herself. Like she hates herself, and it's like that part was rough for me.
That inner validation ain't right, then ain't nothing ever gonna be right. A person can have millions, and it's just never gonna be good enough. So the guy, Fred, on the phone, he's like hitting her up and like, "Hey, are you coming through? Like, are you running late?" He's even being sweet about it. He's like, I know a big star like you has to make a grand entrance, right? And she just doesn't respond to him.
Fred would have treated her like a damn queen. So I guess she just decided just to relegate herself in the dark stuff, her face in the darkness.
Then it goes to the next scene where Sue is at her job, as she's doing her strip aerobics. Some wild growth.
Oh my God! What is that?
Shows up on her right butt cheek.
The control room told the director, I'm assuming, that something was going on. And instead of him just like looking at it through the camera, they're like, put it up on a big screen. Put her big jiggly ass on the screen so we can all just stare at it and see what was wrong.
It's also symbolic of how objectification, at that moment, everybody's looking at this. And it really wasn't necessary, but her ass is on the screen. And she's afraid that they're going to see that growth. She runs off to the room to see what's going on.
This scene was wild, okay? Another one of these real gross body horror. You know what? We shouldn't even say what happens. Like, yeah, some of y'all just need to watch. Like, you all need to watch this movie.
Yeah, what you gonna say?
Turkey leg.
Turkey
yeah.
leg.
Tommy, turkey leg.
At this point, Sue is understanding that as long as she has that spinal tap, she can keep it going. She can keep the party going.
She comes to work. They said the show's canceled. She's like, what? Deuce wants to see you. She's like, well, I'm gonna go get dressed. She's like, no, he wants to see you now. So that's when he tells her, show is doing great. Basically, I wanna have you do the New Year's Eve show, and we're gonna give you more work. You're gonna be the biggest star in the world. And so this is where it goes off the rails, and Sue just continues to she's not doing the weekly thing, and she just keeps tapping Elizabeth for the fluid. And if you thought that one finger was bad, what you see next, and we're not even gonna explain it, what you just see the degradation of her real self, her older self, as this keeps going on. And they kind of start feuding back and forth in a sense where obviously Sue already has a problem with her like eating and things like that. So like Elizabeth knows that, so she just starts cooking all this stuff because the gift that they gave her on her farewell was a cookbook. So she just started cooking and she trashes the whole house. It's nothing but food all over the place. She like put newspaper all up on the windows on the TV to not show, to see that billboard and stuff. And Elizabeth was like, I'm done with this. And just taps that woman for all the fluid she get. And like this girl had mason jars and pitchers, and I looked it up. Me and you looked it up. Your body only like produces
Like 16 ounces of spinal fluid
a day.
Yes.
Was filling buckets with it.
Yo, she's filling so many of these jars. And the crazy thing about it is that it got to the point where the damn wound was getting infected. The fluid that was coming out looked rotten. But she keeps tapping it because she doesn't want Elizabeth to come back. And to some degree, although there's moments where it's like they're two separate consciousness, at the same time, you can see where they're the same consciousness. Because she never wanted to go back, but that in a lot of ways was Elizabeth never wanted to go back. And then the more she did that, the rotten finger spread, and so now her body is just continuing to be drained of its life source, essentially. And Sue is getting all of it.
Oh, it's rough when you see it. Beautiful woman is no longer there, and what you see is like it's freaking wild. And so from there, it's 3 months. Can't get no more fluid. She's there with her butt naked man and stuff, which this scene cracked me up. So then she calls the guy on the phone. He's like, the only way that you have to go back to the other body That's the only way for it to produce spinal fluid. So she switches. This is when you see this monstrosity. And one of the funniest parts is when this dude is standing there just bucket naked in front of the door, and it's just like, and he was like, oh, yo, homie, this dude grabbed his drawers. He didn't even put the drawers on. He ran out the door to put his drawers. It was hilarious. Elizabeth decides that she wants to cancel the procedure. And this is where it once again kind of starts getting funny, because there was a part that we, because we're not trying to say everything, but there's a part where she's like, they're showing how like she's kind of like feeble, right? Because of what's going on with her body, because of the constant tapping. But once she got that termination kit, this bitch gets super strength all of a sudden, and she's just dragging her body by 1 foot down. I'm like, what is going on? I know they were trying to show the urgency and how she was, I gotta get this stuff, I gotta go. Then the termination happens, but right when she's about to finish, she literally starts saying like, no, I need you, I need you, I need you.
Oh, wait. Before, one of the things that stopped her from finishing it off is when she looks at the billboard, and she has a New Year's Eve show, and then she looks over at these flowers, and it says like, they're gonna love you. And that sentence basically made her not want to finish the termination. It's like now trying to revive her. So she does the blood transfusion or whatever from her to Sue. She brings her back, but Sue sees the syringe that says termination, and man, it's on like Donkey Kong.
Oh my God, bro! It was crazy. We're not even gonna explain what happens in this scene. Like, all I'm gonna say is this bitch. They need to put this woman in 300, because she got This is Sparta! And I'm like, what the hell? Is basically ends up killing her older self, kills Elizabeth.
And doesn't think that that's gonna affect her anyhow, which is insane to me.
I don't know if you felt this way, but I feel like they split off, like they're almost like some DID type shit. Like the oldest side has her own, becomes so opposed to one another.
That they're different people.
Yeah, that they're different people. The only link being the fame, attention, and adoration that they get from from being famous is the only thing that kind of links them. Again, that chase to stay famous and young looking can also eventually end up you botching how you actually look, your real self.
She ends up realizing that her taking Elizabeth out is not gonna work, and so she looks at what Elizabeth did as a potential solution for her as well. And what happens after is
the wildest thing. Like, this is the most surreal part of the movie. Taking a shot of a quote unquote substance in a younger version of you spawning out of somebody out of your back is wild in of itself. But like the thing that happens,
you're the spawn of a person already.
Yeah, that's already a spawn, was the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's nuts, and we can say the name. It's called Monstro Elizasuit. This is all done like in practical effects, I think, for the most part. Is the wildest, some of the most grotesque shit you'll ever see.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, and Monstro Elizasuit didn't give a damn. Monstro Elizasuit was going to that New Year's Eve performance, and
you liked it or not.
And Sue's is the most craziest bloody scene. Like, they even played metal music. It was so crazy and metal. Like, it is the most insane thing you'll see happen. And then, little how it ends is how it begins, with a mess on Elizabeth's star while she sits there and fades away, deluded that everybody's cheering her on and seeing glitter. And it was just the saddest kind of ending, where she's just a stain. Now she's just a stain on the sidewalk and gets cleaned off. It just shows you how like Hollywood just uses up women, abuses them, and just scars them, and then
spits them back out. She did more harm than good, and still ultimately didn't end up with what she wanted.
For me, I liked it. Of course, the practical effects were great. Of course, my thing, I just took it as just, y'all love yourselves. You can't fight time. Time is always gonna win. You can't beat it. Men love your daughter, so they love themselves. Take care of yourself.
If you're not getting older, you're dead. So
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
be so mad about it. Yeah, you just gotta love yourself at the end of the day. And I think ultimately that's the movie for me was about not allowing your ego to make decisions for you. The thing that drives you, that motivates you. Because it could be dangerous, and it was dangerous for her because she, again, she didn't get what she wanted anyway. So yeah, what would you rate the movie?
I'm gonna be real generous on this. I'm giving it a 9. Because I was locked in the whole movie. Like, I don't think at one point I was like, when is this gonna be over? Like, I was locked in. It was well acted. I enjoyed it. I love the symbolism. I would recommend this to anybody, especially if they like the horror genre.
I would recommend it as well. If you get squeamish, there are a couple parts that might make you squeamish, but I think overall it's fine because I didn't get nearly as nauseous as I thought I would get. I'm gonna give it a 9.523.
She does that to spite me, y'all.
I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it. So yeah, but that is it. Thank y'all for look. We would recommend y'all watch it. I said you guys gonna watch it, and thank you for hanging out with us. If you've made it this far, what should they put in the comments? If you've made it this far,
who are you rooting for? I mean, you could put hashtag Sue, hashtag Elizabeth.
Exactly. Put either hashtag Save Elizabeth or hashtag Save Sue in the comments if you made it this far. And thank y'all for hanging out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And don't forget to like the video. And we will see y'all on the next one. Thank you for watching BK Reviews. Later, y'all.